Hello. I thought I'd make just more for an entertainment purposes and just to share a few things. Looking at stones. We'll start off with just a piece of hematite, which I always had a fascination for. I don't know whether it's sort of the metallic sort of look of it, but always found it quite attractive in its own way. But stones, natural stones, if you find them, can be really interesting. And may remember I mentioned on video before, and this is the piece. Closest I've got to natural. I'm assuming it's amber, but it was this actual piece that I put against the side of my face and felt the raging sort of electric shock sort of nerve endings of toothache just instantly dissolved just by putting this against the side of my face, which, up to you what you think of crystals and whether they work or not. I can only say from my experience that certainly amber definitely works for toothache when it's almost unbearable. But some pretty little formations and things in this. I love the way that works better in sunlight. You get this little twinkling effect, almost like looking up at the night sky. Before making this video, I did a little test run to see what it would look like on the camera. Another piece I found locally. You got beautiful pieces of pyrite, what's called as fool's gold. Well, fool's gold it may be, but it's pretty. It's attractive to look at, and this actually captures it really well on here. So, in some ways, better than with the naked eye. There's quite a lot of this sort of golden sort of glitter in this. All I did was use a little bit of water and a soft cloth. So I don't want rocks to look like this, or perfectly shiny and uniform size. I like the sort of the natural story that you can sort of, where things have sort of been mushed together and extremes of temperature and cold, no doubt, and congealed into what we have today. And it's almost like a hobby with no end. Every little piece is totally individual. And of course you can display it, and you get fed up with it one way, you can turn it round another way and you've got a completely different picture. Another little piece I found, and this seems to have some interesting colours and things. There's like shades of like almost greenish blue, and I don't know how well that's going to show up on here. Various other colours and pieces. All that glitters may not be gold, but still, I personally find these things attractive. And then this piece, I just love the way the light catches on. I don't even know what the different minerals and things are in this. Maybe some of you out there will have a greater knowledge, but yeah, I just thought this was sort of really attractive, and you've got this beautiful band of colour that's almost like a sponge cake sort of stuck in the middle of there. Yeah, I just find these really attractive, and curious how they're formed. I mean, that to me is just like, wow. You've got beautiful reds and sort of like ochre colours, really earthy colours, but fascinating. Quite a beautiful, colourful piece of rock. And then this with all, again, this really shows up beautifully. It's almost like the night sky. I don't know if I can get the effect to come through, but you've got all these crystals and they twinkle. And again, with these things, it's like, well, which is the right way up? Which way do you display it? You've got infinite sort of possibilities with these things, and of course, costs absolutely nothing just having a keen eye when you're out and about as to what you can find. And this is one of my favourites. It's not, I say it's not actually mine. None of it, we don't really own anything as such, but this is a piece that Serena found. You may remember seeing her on the We Are Not Swingers little short video. And she asked me to sort of clean it up. So I like to leave that sort of natural sort of look, but I love the earthy colours in this. And again, it's something you can sort of display at various, you can reposition it and you get all these different colours and bands and things. I just find it fascinating to look at, and almost like an object to sort of hold and meditate with. It's wonder what stories are in the creation of these little fragments. Just fascinating, I find. And then a piece of driftwood, but obviously a lot lighter than the rock, but you can almost see the way that wood will sort of petrify and begin to resemble rock. It seems to be a process that involves liquid and a drying out. There's a lot of people will probably dismiss the whole idea of things being petrified, living things, but you've got various museums with creatures that may or may not have walked around the earth. Was it 65 million years ago? Here's a the final one. This one I find very interesting. Put a ruler beside so you can get the idea of the scale of it. So where are we? So inches. So we're looking maximum about 3 inches. So just over 2 inches on that end, and then about 2 inches on that end. But I don't know. It weighs about the same weight as a full coffee cup. But I know what I think it is. To me, this looks like maybe a bone from an arm. Whatever happened to it is like almost like a clean cut. But does that not look like marrowbone in there? And then you've got this sort of socket part here with sinews. I would imagine that must have gone in there at one time, and a few interesting dents. Again, all I did was use water and a cloth and just take the grubbiness of it and sort of highlight the colours. But it's very dense, whatever it is. To me, I would say it's a bone, whether it's an animal or a human, but that to me looks like maybe the upper arm, if it's a human, going on its size. And of course this different colour in the middle here would suggest that that's petrified marrowbone. Now if you're not convinced about petrification, just think about when you go to sleep at night and you get this secretion from the corner of the eyes, a thing we call sleep, that's sort of like a very gritty, rocky sort of substance, and that's just overnight in what, maybe 8 hours, less than that. Think of particularly young children when they've got a streaming cold and the mucus, and if that dries, how that resembles a sort of a crusty material where it's dried out in the air. So sort of back on the table, as it were, excuse the pun, but it's a curious thing, the different colours, the internal colour. I mean, to me that looks like the colour that bone is, and then obviously you've got this discoloration on the outside. There's almost a look of aging to it, and there's this curious piece here. And then the completely different colour in the middle there that would suggest that would be like the marrow bone, the centre. But I don't know, what do you think? It's only my personal opinion, I'm no expert on these things. There's just a few sort of objects and just things I've found. They've cost absolutely nothing apart from a bit of time and a bit of observation. And if I was to just up and leave and couldn't take these with me, yeah, I'd feel a little bit sad in a way. But they're freely given by nature, and then they'll end up back as part of nature anyway, one way or another. Won't be exactly where they were before, but they'll end up. I mean, I can't take it with me, as it were. But every piece is sort of unique, and it's just subjective, really. Do you find it fascinating? Does it entertain you? Does it bring you pleasure? But there comes a time where we'd have to let it go, but then I'd find other pieces if I so desired. So yeah, I just love the reflections and things you get in some of these. And like I say, this piece in particular, when the sunlight hits it and you get this, and I can't really bring it out that well on here, but I think you get the rough idea. You get this, it's got very tiny bits of quartz all over this, and they all twinkle. It's like looking at a night sky, so it's almost like a little micro snapshot. It almost becomes animated, although obviously it's completely solid and not going anywhere, cannot move of its own. But the visual effect of where the light catches all this makes for an interesting piece. So, and it's like a two-way interest come hobby. It's something you can display for your own sort of amusement, entertainment. It can also be something you could use to fill an empty corner where you want some object to have on display or whatever. Personal preferences and things, of course. But I just love the way it's like, well, if I don't want to look at it from that side any longer, then I can turn it round. I've got basically something new to look at, although it's the same piece. Nature is a beautiful provider in all aspects, not just in survival, but interest. And going back to the amber again, the sort of healing qualities of the stones. I only know this because it was suggested when I had this raging toothache, that where even to touch the gum was like an electric shock. It was that tender and painful. But as soon as I'd put this in contact with the side of my face, around the affected area, obviously touching it very gently, and I felt the pain just simply dissolve away. And that was just with this. So I can't say that it's a load of woo-woo with crystals, because I was extremely grateful for the suggestion. Thank you, Kirsten. And also to find that it gave me, it was pretty much instant relief from the toothache. But yeah, some fascinating things. Just thought I'd share sort of bit of my sort of life, as it were, and just share sort of an interest. I don't sort of go all out on this, as it were. It's just a passing interest, and I get pleasure at looking at the different colours and the different bands, the different shapes. And interesting, it's like, well, how did that get formed? Did that just split? Was that part of something else? Who knows? In this sort of speculation on that, but fascinating because it's a mystery and we never really know the answer. Anyway, I think I've sort of talked long enough and it's given you a little insight. But yeah, tell me what you think of this one. It's about 3 centimetres by about 2 centimetres across. You've got this strange piece on the side, the different colours, the centre, which is a completely different colour. So any anatomists out there, if you tell me what you think. What do you think this is? It a human bone? Is it an animal bone that's petrified? You can also look up Mother Shipton's caves, where you've got minerals, water and flowing water with minerals in it, and how it will calcify and petrify anything that's put in a very short space of time. You can find that on YouTube. If I can find a link to a particular video to share it, I will. I'm pretty certain Rudy and the Dogs channel may have covered that. If he's still got the video up, maybe worth looking at his channel. Mother Shipton's caves, which I'm not exactly sure. I think they're not in. They're near Yorkshire. They may be the next county. I'm not that up on the geography, as it were. So, a few bits and pieces there, and maybe it'll spark a new hobby interest. It's amazing what you can find or what catches your eye, and some really fascinating things given by nature, as it were. Don't cost a penny, just takes a little bit of time and just seeing what you can find out there. So I will say love to you all and have a beautiful, beautiful day.